The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Of the Mangano Family Foundation Doing Good radio show, and we are fortunate and lucky to have as our special guest Brookhaven Town Councilman Mike Loguercio. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Anthony and Sal, for having me on today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So, your resume and your community engagement probably is about 20 pages long, so I boiled it down.
It's right near yours, let me tell you. It's about equal.
There you go. So you were elected Brookhaven Town Councilman in 2015.
Yes.
And you just really do a tremendous job, for the local community. Talk to us a little bit about, the role of a town councilman and what you focus on.
Well, thank you. As you know very well, our main job is land use. That's the most important thing that we do. We decide, or we help decide, what type of business will go where, what type of residents will go where, so that this way we able to keep business together, residents together, so that you don't have the mix, the mix of business and residential that really shouldn't be together. And that's really the main focus of what it is that we do. And then, of course, we also, deal with the community when it comes to helping them solve their problems with the roads. We work closely with the highway superintendent. We work with the parks department. We work with waste management, so that all these services can come together and serve the people that are in our communities.
And, so politics is certainly an interesting business, and you have a very long, very, very, very successful background in business and community engagement. But kind of when the opportunity presented itself, when did you say, and why did you say, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there and run for public office and look to be an elected official?
Well, what happened was I have two kids, as you know, and the community was very good to my family and I. And my kids got a wonderful education in the Longwood School District. And I always felt that, we wanted to give back to the community. So at that point, I joined the Longwood School Board. And I got elected to the school board, and I served 12 years on the board. And I guess I did a decent job because the community liked what I did. The community supported me. And the local political party asked me if I would run for political office. And quite frankly, I didn't even know what a councilman did at the time. And they asked me, that if I would step up and represent the community. And I said, well, listen, if you think that I could do a good job and the community would support me, and if they thought that I would do a good job and help, then I'd be happy to. So I ran, and here I am.
Very famous, well-known, former congressman, Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local, right?
It is.
What we see happening in many parts of the country, in Washington and even Albany to a degree, it's very hyper-partisan, and there's a lot of rhetoric going on. Mm-hmm. I like to say on Long Island, we really put a lot of the partisanship aside in order to really focus on the local taxpayer and the residents, and always make sure that they're first before anything else. What's your approach to working bipartisan and leadership and just in general?
Well, Anthony, you're absolutely 100% correct. And something that I always tell folks is that at our level especially, there should be no politics. Let Washington deal with that. There shouldn't be any politics because, we're about land use, about stop signs, about that sort of thing, about making sure that people's street lights are on, making sure that they're safe, the most important thing. So there really shouldn't be any politics involved at our level, because all it's about is taking care of the people and making sure that they have the services that we all deserve and we all pay taxes for. So I know in my office and in the entire town board, we put politics aside. When someone calls us, we don't ask them, oh, what's your political persuasion? We just do whatever we can to help. I have a tremendous staff. Victoria and James, they work beautifully with me, and we also work very well with every other elected official, no matter what their political party is. We don't care, quite frankly. We just do what we were elected to do and to help serve the community.
Yeah, and you have great role models in government that look to do that, whether it be current Supervisor Panico, former supervisor and current Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine, who just does tremendous job, in terms of reaching across the aisle, because he knows in order to get funding, in order to get big projects done, you have to do that.
You have to. I'm very fortunate because, especially in the district that I'm in, it was a highly Democrat district, and I had to reach across party lines, but I didn't approach it that way. I just said, listen, I'm going to go out. This is the job I'm going to do, and hopefully the people will appreciate it and they'll support me, and they do every time. I'm in here 10 years now. I'm elected.
10 years.
I'm serving 10 years, yeah.
Flew by.
It sure did. I served 12 years on the school board, and then now 10 years on the town board.
So let's talk a little about the school board. Again, that's another position that's very difficult. I give everybody who's on school board so much credit. There's a volunteer positions, and you really spend an enormous amount of time focused on, the children and the teachers, and making sure that everybody has such a wonderful environment in order to thrive and succeed. And what made you run for the school board the first time? How did that come about?
Like I said, my kids were in the schools, and they were getting a tremendous education, and I felt that I wanted to give back in some way, and I really wasn't sure. And I said, well, maybe that's a good thing to do. Maybe I'll try it. I didn't really know much about education other than that you needed one. And I got involved. I had the business background. So every school board member has their own niche, their own asset that they bring to the table. So that was my way of giving and helping out, and I guess I did a decent job. But that was the whole premise behind it, was that I just wanted to give back to a community that I felt, my family, benefited tremendously from.
And that's Longwood School District.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And Sal, you just did a scholarship program in Longwood. Yes. So you work with the local fire departments, or?
Correct. Yes, we work with the 5 fire departments in the Longwood community: Ridge, Middle Island, Yaphank, Gordon Heights, and Coram. And we give a scholarship to each of one or two members from each of the departments, and the fire departments themselves pick who the scholarship recipients are.
And you've been doing that a long time, Sal.
Yes, we've been doing it since we moved out to Middle Island, probably about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And this year, I think you give $5,000 out.
Yes, $5,000 each year since we started.
Wow, that's tremendous. I can do the math. Don't worry. I can do the math quickly, but I'm not going to say the number.
And I can tell you, Sal, from being on the other side of it, that the community is very appreciative of what it is you do with the scholarship and everything else that you do for the community.
Thank you very much.
Sal's always there. I'm a member of the Ridge Fire Department, and it's unfortunate that obviously we do suffer with many tragedies and deaths. And anytime fire department any fire department reaches out to Sal and his business, they're always there. They always step up and they always help out tremendously. So thank you, Sal.
Thank you very much.
And so you're still a member of the fire department?
I am. Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in my 12th year. I started late in life. And, but I enjoyed it. I think it's great. And in a lot of ways, I relate it to politics as well. I ride a rescue squad a couple of nights a week on the ambulance, and so many times. And this is the way I kind of liken it to politics. When we go in and save someone or help someone, I don't say to them. We don't say to them. You a Mets fan, Jets fan? What are you? We don't say you. Republican, Democrat. We just go in there and we do whatever we can to help them. And it's the same thing in politics. We don't care, what political party you're a member of. We just go there to help, and we just try to do the right thing.
And, I think, organizations, whether it be fire departments or fraternal groups, I think it's a bit tougher these days in terms of recruiting and getting people involved and engaged.
It is.
What are some messages you have for, people who, to volunteer in the fire department? What are some of the benefits that they can, look to achieve, by doing that?
Well, first off, it's a very rewarding, it's a rewarding service that you offer. You're a volunteer. And it's something to be able to say that myself, along with my team, or sometimes individually, you actually help save a life. And that's something that I can't even explain to you what that feels like. To be a part of a team that brought someone back or saved them from an overdose, or maybe did CPR on a person that wasn't here with us but now is. So that the reward you get from that personally and internally, I can't even explain what that's like. But you're giving back to your community. You're there when the community needs you. And it's not only for your family and your friends, but also for strangers. And that's something that you can't even compete with anything else.
And you know, since a volunteer role, right? I mean, you kind of can put in as much time as you want.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we do have minimums that we have to meet, certain quotas per se that we have to, certain, you know, number of calls that we have to be at, but that's so that the community is always protected. And all of us meet those minimums, and most of us go way above. Because it becomes something, it becomes a brotherhood. It becomes something that you really want to be there. You want to help out. And families get involved, and we have, you know, parties, and everybody truly becomes a part of it. And then when something goes wrong, everyone is involved to help.
And let's jump back to, you know, your councilman role.
Sure.
What are some things going on? What are some of the things you might want to, you know, talk about or focus on, or what's some of the stuff you want to share with the listeners?
Sure. Well, I can tell you right off the bat, my district is very eclectic. You know, I serve from the North Shore down to the Middle Island down to the very South Shore, down to the water. I have Ridge, Middle Island, a little bit of Coram, Yaphank, Bellport Village, a little bit of Shirley, and then right back up William Floyd to Ridge again. So it's very different communities, very diverse,
wow.
Exactly. So each little area needs different types of services. But what we try to do is, and I know that you've done the same thing, you try to bring, you know, businesses into the area. You try to support the community. You try to support the tax base. You try to do everything you can to make sure that these communities have the services that they need and they would want. And also at the same time, you try to make sure that you're bringing in the tax revenue to support the schools and the fire departments and the libraries so that they get those services as well. And on the other hand, you also want to make sure that you don't overbuild and overtax the community. You want to keep the open space. I'm very fortunate to have a ton of open space in my district. So we try to maintain and preserve as much of that as possible, but at the same time try to bring in the mix of development that we truly need in the area.
Yeah, and it's certainly, you know, a difficult balancing act.
It is.
But at the end of the day, you also, as whether you're a business or your municipality, you need to grow. And you need to find ways to grow. Right. Because if you have stagnation and you don't have the revenue coming in, you know, then there's certain areas that are going to be, you know, in more decline than you want. Yeah. You know, just like a business, you have to pivot, you have to be fluid, you have to change with the technology, with the times, and governmental bodies and municipalities have to do the same thing.
Right. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because, you know, you change with the times, but there was a tremendous, and people don't realize this, but there was a tremendous need for housing on Long Island. There is a need for not only individual residential homes, but also for multifamily homes. And a lot of the younger folks, they don't want to have the houses. They want to live in a condo. They want to live in an apartment. And a lot of them, you know, they can't come up with the down payment on the individual homes, but they would prefer to live in an apartment. They'll pay the $3,000, $4,000 a month. But there's a tremendous need for that right now. And, you know, fortunate or unfortunate, we need to build these homes, and we need to make sure that the young people have a place to live. And at the same point, they have jobs too to help them pay for this. So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So you also have a private sector career, right? You're in the insurance industry.
I was in the insurance industry for 40 years. I'm getting old, Sal. You know,
wow, you started when you were 2 years old. That was you must have been a savant,
right? And then for the past 10 years or so, I've been working for a company called Belfour. We do property restoration and construction, and I basically serve the insurance industry so that when their clients do have a fire or a flood, or they're a business and someone drives through the front door, you know, we provide 24-hour service to get a crew in there and clean it up and rebuild it and hopefully, you know, and most of the time, all the time, get them back to better than where they were in the beginning. But it's still within the insurance sector. So,
and how have you seen that? That industry has changed tremendous, right? And it's, you know, especially being in New York, right? Yeah. It's hard to get coverages and
absolutely.
Things like that.
Long Island, especially because of the water.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of companies don't want to write anymore because of, you know, the chances of a hurricane or even tornado. Now we get tornado warnings, you know, quite often. So carriers are stepping away from that. They don't want to write and then when they do write it, the premiums are pretty exorbitant.
Yeah, I think I probably in my neighborhood probably have like one or two, you know, companies that will write a policy because we're close to the water.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's difficult, but without it, and God forbid something happens, you know.
Yeah. And Sal, I know, switching gears a little bit, we had a nice ceremony, in memory of Mom's honor.
Yes.
A ceremonial street renaming.
Yes, and thank you very much for your help assisting with that.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous, trailblazer, truly. First female funeral director in Suffolk County history.
Wow.
Was Barbara Mangano, and I know we had the ceremonial street renaming and a dedication. So, what were your thoughts about that day? It
was a very touching day. I appreciate the town of Babylon, and all the public officials that made that happen. It was very touching for myself and my family, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, she was a wonderful person. It was really kind of like the premise of the Mangano Family Foundation is kind of taking all of the work that the family and Mom has done over the years, and you especially, and really kind of putting it together and in a way that, we can communicate and connect with the public and community groups and organizations to really, push things forward and help the local community out. So that's
Yes.
great.
Thank you very much.
That is excellent. So let's switch gears. What's going on back in the town? Tell me about how things are going.
Well, we've got a number of
interesting projects, events going on. Or?
We do have a number of events I could share with you. I'd be happy to share with you. For instance, on November 1st, we have at the South Country Library from 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. We have a recycling event, and those are always very, very popular. Folks come from all over the town, and even Babylon and Islip and Huntington, and we do paper shredding, electronics recycling, safe medicine disposal, and even cardboard recycling now. And it's nice because there is no charge, and folks have expired medications. They have papers from years ago when things weren't as electronic and paperless as they are now. So we have that going on, and that'll be down again at the South Country Library on November 1st. And one of my favorites has always been the Brookhaven Country Fair. Every year we do that. This year it's the weekend of September 20th and 21st, a Saturday and Sunday. And that's at the Longwood Smith Estate, and that's on the corner of Longwood Road and Smith Road in Ridge. And that's a wonderful event. You have historical reenactments, demonstrations, great food. We have a band there. We have a DJ. There's many vendors. And there's things for the kids to do as well. And we have a table there with my staff, and we offer the kids all different types of events. And, we talk with them and help them to understand what these reenactments are about. There's the Smith Museum. The home in the museum there, which we offer tours of. That goes back to the 1600s, I believe. And, there's so many different things that are part of that event on the weekend. We also, in conjunction with Assemblyman Joe DeStefano, we have an emergency preparedness presentation. And we were talking before about hurricanes and tornadoes. And this basically helps you to put together a go bag, so to speak, on the things that you need in the event that a hurricane does hit our island. And, we're fortunate because with technology in the National Hurricane Center, we do get a lot of warnings on these particular weather events. But this is what you need to have and be ready to take it and leave in the event that, God forbid, you have to.
Were you in office during Sandy? Or
I was not, but I had a number of friends of mine that lived down by you who lost everything. Yeah. Houses, cars. It was horrible. Fortunately, not too many lives were lost, but it was horrible. And this will be on Monday, August 4th at 7 p.m. at the South Country Ambulance, which is on Station Road, also in Bellport. And then the town is doing a back-to-school drive, and that'll be for students from ages kindergarten through 12th grade. And we're collecting pens, pencils, calculators, binders, rulers, loose-leaf paper. They still use loose-leaf paper? Use loose-leaf paper, backpacks, crayons, notebook, you name it. Anything that kids need in school, we're collecting that. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of families out there that are in need of these things. So this is our way of trying to collect these items, and this is running from July 28th, which is today, right through to August 22nd. And believe me, you come in August 23rd or September 1st or whenever, we'll always take it because there's always.
And where do they drop that off? And
there are a number of different places you can drop it off. We have Shirley, Holtzville, Lisa Talcott, Coram, Lake Grove. If they give my office a call, I'll give the number if you don't mind. That's 631-451-6968. And number again is 631-451-6968. And we'll direct them to the location that's closest to them. And then another event that we have is the free rabies clinics that is happening at the Brookhaven Animal Shelter, and that's going to be today. July 26th through August 23rd. That's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's free rabies vaccines for dogs, cats, and ferrets. Do people still have ferrets?
Wow.
I don't know anybody that has ferrets anymore.
I think people used to walk them on leashes back in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that still has a ferret. But if you have a ferret out there, bring it. We'll give you a free rabies vaccine. And then there's always something that always pops up. So if you just give my office a call, we're always happy to share with that.
And speaking of recycling, what's the latest with the Brookhaven landfill?
Well, as you know, this year we stopped taking construction and demolition debris, and that's the precursor to us eventually closing it. It would have been closed probably this year or next, but with COVID, less of the landfill was used because there was so much less construction taking place. So we were able to stretch the life out. So probably be around 2027, 28, I would assume the landfill will be closing. And then, the garbage business will be going privatized.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know we have talking about events, October 11th is the Long Island Columbus Day Parade, and proudly Babylon has the parade this year, and Sal Mangano is one of the Grand Marshals. So congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So you are certainly invited, as are all the elected officials across Long Island.
Thank you.
It's sponsored by the New York State Sons and Daughters of Italy.
Right, and you're a member of the Knights of Columbus, I believe, right?
I'm a member of Knights of Columbus, Sons of Italy. You name it, Lions Club. The list goes on and on. But yeah, it's going to be a great parade, and I know you're very passionate about Italian-American causes, so we hope that you could join us.
I'm a first-generation American. My parents are from there, from the old country, as they say. So, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I see your social media postings, cooking
I
Italian.
dabble in a meatball or two.
You do. But, Long Island wants to know, the listeners want to know, what do you call it, sauce or gravy?
It's interesting, because I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, and it was mostly called sauce, but it doesn't mean it was correct because sauce has to include meat. So I always put the meat in there anyway, the braciole and the meatballs, and everything gets cooked right in there. So we call it sauce, but it's not always correct. If you make like a marinara, then it wouldn't be a sauce; it would be a gravy. So.
Yeah, so I call it sauce, and I always say the gravy is brown on Thanksgiving. That's how I call it. But it's a big debate.
Gravy's good today.
It's good. There you go. See, I told you this is a little bit of everything here. A little bit of everything.
This is a great show.
There you go.
Making me hungry.
We have a few minutes left, but I want to. The floor is yours. So talk to us about what's on your mind and what you want everybody to hear about.
Well, I think it's important that people realize that they can very easily approach folks like yourself, myself, anyone in politics, at any level of government, and that we will do, all of us together. We all work very well together. My town board, your town board, we do a lot of work together, and the different levels of government that all come together. It's just a matter of helping people to get what they need and what they deserve. So what I always tell folks is, if you have a question, you have a concern, if you want to tell us what a great job we're doing, give us a call, and we will do whatever we can to either help you or put you in the right direction and get you to the people that can help. And listen, there are times, Anthony, that, I can't help someone. You can't help someone. And we tell them, say, listen, that's a great idea. We'd love to be able to do something, but we can't. But here's why we can't. And here's why no one can. And most of the time, people will understand. People are good like that. But, if you don't call us and give us the opportunity to either try to help or explain why it can't be done. People ask for things sometimes and say, well, I want a stop sign because people speed down the block. Well, a stop sign may cause people to speed even more or possibly cause motor vehicle accidents. And we explain that to folks, and they say, oh, wow, you're right. I thank you for explaining that to me. So the thing I really try to tell people is call us. Let's have the conversation. We're regular folks. We're happy to speak with you about it.
Yeah, you're accessible,
Absolutely.
Transparent. Hey, this is what we could do. This is what we can't do.
Yeah.
But it's all about that communication is important.
It really is. And, I'll go into the supermarket, and my wife won't even go with me because sometimes it takes me 3 hours to get a quart of milk because 7 people stop me and want to talk about different things.
So you're not shopping in like Center Reach or Stony Brook out of the.
No, I stay right in the community because you know why? I enjoy it. I love being able to sit with the people and talk with them and answer or at least try to answer the questions. And if I can, I'll say, listen, I can't help you. And most of the time, they understand.
No, that's good. And how about you've had a lot of leadership level positions, and any thoughts on kind of like leadership, right? Like how do you approach things? How do you approach a difficult situation that you might be walking into? To talk a little bit about how you do that.
It's funny because I told my staff right from the beginning, they're very, very good at this, that you want people to, not that you want them to be upset, but you want them to come to you with a problem. Because when someone comes to you with a problem, no matter how angry they are, it gives you an opportunity to help these folks and make their day better. Many times people come to us, it may be their worst day ever. Even though it may not seem that bad to us, to them it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. And it gives us an opportunity to sit them down and say, okay, listen, we're going to see what we can do to make it better. And we can try to help you. And then we go for ice cream. It's just, it makes people know that they're listened to. And I tell my staff all the time that when we get someone who's upset, embrace them, help them, talk with them. And that's what we really look for. We look to help people like that. And I could speak for the entire town board. And I'm sure yours is the same way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's what it's, and you don't know what anybody's going through.
You don't.
You always have to, treat people,
right.
As they need to be treated, and that's also if you look at Sal, right? I mean, Sal's business is very much like that.
Yeah.
And Sal, I know, so again, somebody is looking for funeral services as part of their planning, right? Estate planning and things like that.
Correct.
It's recommended that do pre-planning, right? Is that
correct? Yes, we participate in a plan with the New York State Funeral Directors Association called the New York State Pre-Plan, where people could prepay their funerals now, and it's guaranteed not to cost the family any more money as long as it's fully funded at the time.
And how do they call?
They can call me. My phone number is 631-586-3600. Once again, 631-586-3600. And I can be reached at that number for all three locations, which is Riverhead, Middle Island, and Deer Park as well.
Yeah, and I think so. It's people have to. I know it's very tough for people to have those conversations with their family, but it's important that they need to do that.
Correct. It is. It's important that you're not leaving the burden to your children or your grandchildren, or cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. It is a very important tool that New York State allows families to do and prepay their funerals ahead of time.
And I have just a quick question. I know this came up once, but in terms of the veterans cemeteries,
yes,
are those? How does that work in terms of being able to utilize that? Utilize that.
So, if someone is an honorably discharged veteran, they'd be eligible to be buried in a national cemetery. The largest national cemetery in the area would be Calverton National Cemetery. The veteran would be a space reserved for the veteran and their spouse and any dependent children they might have. The veteran's DD-214, which is a discharge paper, that would be basically like their cemetery deed. We would have to submit to the National Cemetery Scheduling Office a copy of their discharge papers, and then they would be able to, they'd be entitled to a grave there.
And how is the cost compared to an?
There is no cost for a veteran and their spouse and or dependent children to be buried in a national cemetery. The grave is for free. Actually, not for free, but it's a benefit of being a honorably discharged veteran. The grave is no charge to the family. The opening, the liner, the stone. Off the top of my head, I'd probably say that's probably anywhere between a $7,000 and $10,000 savings for the families utilizing the veteran cemetery.
Great information. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Councilman Loguercio, we're wrapping up. Any final words that you want to leave us with?
I just want to say thank you to you and your council district and your entire town board for everything that you do, and we appreciate that as your neighbor.
Babylon and Brookhaven.
That's it.
Together.
Sal, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Tremendous job. Thank you for everything you do for the local community.
You as well.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.